Time to do some sketchy shit. Doo-dah, doo-dah. Hope I get away with it. Oh, the doo-dah day.
Hey everybody, Joe Dog. Sorry about that. Go ahead and get Dan and John in here real quick while I choke to death.
Are you gonna make it?
I hope so. That just hit me right as I opened my mouth. Ugh.
About time.
So Donna's voodoo doll is working.
Yeah.
Either that or the Taco Bell.
Bringing in Joe and Rich, and of course, it's been a while since they've been here, so I get to play the video, right?
All right. If you
All right.
Uh,
Hello, boys! I'm back!
We got the Rocket Mama Stephanie back. Welcome back, Stephanie.
Thank you much. Thank you much. Good to be back.
I don't have any Snickers. Would you like a moon pie?
But
does it contain real moons?
It could.
But we actually have a very special guest tonight. One of our convention friends, who is an author and an actual rocket scientist. Oh, it didn't show.
Hi. It's good to be here. I've heard a lot about this show. The expectations are high.
You can't prove a thing. We hide our tracks entirely.
But you came anyway.
I did. Joe's kind of persuasive.
Yeah.
So he has something on you, is what you're saying.
He must. Plus, I heard that Stephanie was on here, and she's a neighbor and a friend of mine from way back. So,
Oh yeah.
what can
Les
I do?
and I go all the way back to graduate school together. So
Okay, let me ask one question of Stephanie real quick, because I'm reading your Division 1 series.
Yes.
Okay.
I read the one about the convention at Christmas and all sorts of stuff like that, and they mentioned a certain alien that worked at Huntsville. Wouldn't by any chance be in the room right now, would he?
No.
Okay, it's different Huntsville guy. Just checking.
No. The particular, but who are you talking about? a certain named alien?
Yes. Taylor, I think, was the last.
Yeah,
name.
no. He's
Oh,
he's
no,
on the
no,
other
no,
side of
that's-
the river from
that's-
me.
Yeah, that's somebody else. He's
Okay, just checking, because he was supposedly a neighbor in Huntsville. So.
hey,
He is.
we know him
I mean,
too.
but
I
he's-
mean,
but
seriously.
But he's on the other side of the river. But yes, he's a
Oh,
he's a
well, then
neighbor.
we won't count him then, since he's on the other side of the river.
But I mean, he's not literally here in the room with me. He can't be.
I'm
so.
just checking.
Okay. Yeah. No.
You know,
And
names getting changed to protect the innocents. You know?
No. He.
Oh,
and
no,
then he
no, that
turned
was his
around-
name.
That was his name. Yeah. And then he turned around and characterized me in one of the Black Tide Rising stories.
Oh my God, you're fighting zombies?
Yes, actually.
Oh, yes.
Just checking.
Quite well, too.
So we kind of trade off.
Yeah.
And of course, we've got our regular peanut gallery going of Carl Witzman saying hi, and Donna Carlene. Well, he's here, so I'm not. That don't count.
What is that out there?
Don Doulis. Who else is in here?
Facebook user is
Hey, Keisha's here too.
Oh, Keisha, yeah. But there's somebody here that I really am glad to see here. We've got the launch pad.
And just for the record, Zach, I just sent you the link in Facebook. Get your butt in here.
Okay. But let's do this. Let's go. Let me find Les's picture.
Or Discord.
here.
I'm sorry, I sent it to you in Discord.
Okay. Les, I have 3 questions I ask my new guests.
Uh-oh. You didn't give me a heads up about this, so I'm getting
Hey.
caught cold.
That's the purpose.
There will be a test.
Okay.
And this
All
is
right.
it.
And the question, I'm going to ask you all 3 of them. You can answer them any order you want. It's who are you, what do you do, and how the hell did you get roped into this show?
Who am I? Well, I am. Wow, that's a long story. I am a blue-blooded Kentuckian who ended up going to school and studying physics because he wanted to work for NASA and make all the stuff he read about in cool science fiction stories and watched on Star Trek into reality. And I'm extremely blessed to be able to be doing that. That was who I am. What do I do? I've told what I do. And how did I get roped into this show? Because I know several of you folks that are on here, and I've been hearing about this at LibertyCon primarily, and through seeing announcements of it on Facebook, and it sounded like a fun thing to do, and I'm glad to be here.
I appreciate it. And as you see, I changed your name down there.
Scientist. All right. There's a story behind that you might want to tell them about later.
I'll leave that to you because that is a good story. And as far as I'm concerned, from now on, that's what you are.
I'm fine with that.
That sounds like a filking incident.
No,
No.
even worse.
Go ahead and tell it, Les. It's too good.
Yeah, go ahead. Let me pull you back up.
All right. Okay. All right. Well, it goes way back. I mean, I I started attending this convention in Chattanooga, LibertyCon. I think it was LibertyCon 2 was the first convention I went to. And I started giving talks about space and science because I love it. And I love sharing, that stuff with fans because fans are the greatest, right? So I need a drink of water myself, damn.
Gotta stay hydrated, always.
You're contagious. So what happened was I'd done that for a few years. And at LibertyCon 8, Uncle Timmy, the founder, person who got LibertyCon going, said, you got to make sure you come to the banquet tonight, Les. I have something for you. So I went to the banquet, and they made me the official rocket scientist for LibertyCon. And he gave me one of the coveted black shirts that had the LibertyCon logo. Usually only staff and stuff get the black shirts. But on the back, it had printed in very large letters what was supposed to say, our real rocket scientist. And to Timmy's horror and my delight, the printer had misspelled scientist and put scientist and had gotten it messed up. So Timmy, being mortified, said, let me have that back. I'll get it fixed and mail you a new one. And of course, I didn't let go of it. I said, not on your life. And so every year at LibertyCon, that's the only time I wear that shirt. I've had that shirt for 25 years. And I wear it every year at LibertyCon in honor of Uncle Timmy, who's now passed away. Yeah. It was a great memory and a great honor, and there is no way on earth that I would not wear that shirt at LibertyCon unless I lose it or something. So
con memories.
Oh yeah.
Great stories that most
when I saw the way he spelled it, I thought maybe you were a scientist of the Seinfeld TV show.
No, this is the real science.
He's a Seinfeldist.
Oh no. Then again, maybe a fan, don't know. Never came up.
Yeah, but like I said, con stories. We got some great con stories. Most of them we can't tell on here.
Most of them we can never tell.
I've been going to cons long enough that I can actually tell about half of my stories. The statute of limitations still applies on the others, and
the fact that so few of us are left that can hire a hitman, you can get away with it.
Well, some of the documents are still sealed.
I'll talk to you after the show.
Oh, Michaela's here.
Hey, Michaela.
Fixing to head to work.
Happy birthday coming up. Is it tomorrow or?
In the green room. Be there or be sober.
Yeah.
In your case, you'll be sober anyway, whether you're there or not.
So Les is a rocket scientist. We were talking just before the show about he works on advanced propulsion systems for NASA. Or is it? You work for NASA or?
I do. I'm a civil servant. I sure am. Yeah, I'm a NASA employee.
And my dad worked at Rockwell. And to give you an example of how close he got to the space shuttle, he was a personnel manager. So that's it. He got to sign a lot of paperwork that got people close to the space shuttle. So,
that's important too, though, right?
It is. But strangely enough, he had this thing. He got to work with a lot of the people that worked on the electromagnetic propulsion systems that I don't know what it got used on or who used it or stuff like that. But Rockwell built a lot of the stuff that went into it.
Well, actually, electric propulsion's used a lot on commercial spacecraft. A lot of the big communication satellites up in geostationary orbit use that. And there have been a few deep space missions to use.
And I think everything, all that stuff Tesla put up, the Skylink, I think they all have electromagnetic propulsion. Anyway, it's a very popular system for small satellites, just moving them around so they can like dodge aliens and fun stuff like that. And,
I'm sure the dodging aliens part's part of the requirements flow.
It's built into the program. They never notice what they're doing.
Yeah. Meep, meep, get out of the way. You know,
Well,
That
I'm
man
going
over
to
there is Fleet
assume
Gallagher.
that no satellites got hit this evening. So
oh,
I
Oh,
thought it
that's
was
right. We had an asteroid flyby, didn't we?
we
Yep.
did. We did.
What'd they say it was? 27,000 miles out?
No, actually, it was only about a little over 2,200.
Yeah, it was pretty
2,600.
darn. That's PDC. What? Pretty
no
darn close.
kidding. That's like
Yeah.
you might have been able to see that. It might have hit
Well-
enough atmosphere that you could see it.
Well, the concern was they only discovered it earlier this week, and so they didn't have a really highly refined orbit on it. It was they've classified it as an Apollo asteroid, which means it's an Earth crosser. So, but yeah, the concern was that maybe it was actually going to impact. But if it had, they had enough on it to be able to get a rough ground track, and it would have hit in the extreme southern Pacific Ocean, and it wasn't very big, so it
Point
wouldn't-
Nemo.
Yeah, my van is bigger. I mean, it was less than 27 feet across.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, but it's
yeah.
moving fast enough that if it hit water, it could still be pretty bad for.
Well, it could.
yeah,
It would have thrown up a tsunami, but we're not talking Chicxulub here or anything.
Yeah.
So
No, it would have been a regional problem.
yeah,
There goes that 3-hour tour.
Hey, it probably would have rocked Lewis's boat there coming back from Hawaii.
well, it
He's
was
already
about according to the ground track I saw, it would have been about 2/3 of the way heading east, about 2/3 of the way from the southern tip of New Zealand to the southern tip of South America.
Wow.
So how close is that to the point we actually purposely dumped
Yeah, that's Point Nemo,
space
isn't it?
junk?
Isn't that Point Nemo? I've got two rocket
Offhand, I don't know. I think it's further south. Actually, it was almost in Antarctic waters.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah,
way
way
further
far
south.
south.
So it was
Yeah.
a penguin killer.
I heard that.
Stephanie, when did all this happen? Because since you mentioned it in the chat earlier, I watched 2 different network news stations, and nobody's saying anything up here, at least.
Where I posted it on my wall, there have been several people posting links, and one of those was USA Today.
Okay.
A very reliable source.
Well, I mean, of course, yes. The headline was "Huge Asteroid." So, but yeah, evidently, it may have happened so fast that nobody had a chance to get on it, get reporters on it.
Yeah, I mean, they just announced it this morning, right? I mean, that's the first I heard of it. It could've
Yeah,
been yesterday.
yeah. I got the reason why I knew about it is because I've got the I'm on the Minor Planet mailing list, and I got the reports.
Now, it was close enough that it may have been affected by Earth gravity.
Yes.
Oh, it definitely would have been.
2,200 miles.
It was just outside the Roche limit, but not by much.
So what's its period? Do we know when will it be back?
We don't. I don't think they know.
Its orbit's going to be changed by being this close.
And they didn't have anything on it before.
No, it was
it's
just
new.
discovered
They
this
don't.
week.
Yeah, they don't know anything about it.
Yeah. The article I
there it
read while I was at work was from the BBC, and they basically said, "Oh, a pebble is going to fly by. Watch everybody over at the Daily Mail freak out."
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, that they're thinking maybe 300 days orbit.
That would make sense. If it's a near Earth asteroid in a similar orbit to us, that would make sense, right?
All right.
Yeah.
According to, believe it or not, Wikipedia, and yes, I know about Wikipedia, but I've already been checking this, and it seems to be pretty accurate. The period before the flyby would have been just shy of 359 days. As a result of the flyby, it looks like it's going up to about 425 days.
Wow.
So it pushed it out a little.
Well, it changed it to an oval. It was more circular before. I mean, not around Earth, but it was kind of sharing our lane, weaving around a little bit. But now it's trying to decide whether it wants to get off on the exit ramp or get into the
lane,
the high speed lane.
Yeah, and actually, there's a kind of a nice graphic on Wikipedia showing the interaction and how it has affected the orbit.
And Zach just confirmed that in the chat. 359 days, and now it's 425.
Okay.
We may be silly clowns most of the time, but bring us something serious to talk about, and it's worth.
And we can talk about it. So,
Zach's been running a 24-hour tracker on his YouTube channel.
Oh wow!
Cool.
So
that's impressive.
And I tuned in just after it passed by.
Bless you.
So, Les, what about the, I want to say DARPA, but that's not the right word. The dual asteroid impact.
Oh, the DART.
Oh, DART.
Yeah. The redirect test. No, I'm not a part of that project, but I did I heard a brief on the outcome of it. I mean, it was pretty darn. It was spectacularly successful, right? I mean, the capability of deflecting an asteroid, they actually got more of a delta V, more of a change on the trajectory than they thought. And they were able to validate their models now based on real data, right, to show how much they were off and then corrected them. So, yeah, it's been pretty successful. It shows if we have enough warning time, and that's the key, that we ought to be able to deflect something that's coming right at us. If we don't discover it until the day of, we're out of luck, right?
Yeah.
But if we have a few years, I think we already knew theoretically we could do it, but now we've got data and got proof that it can happen. So yeah, that was beautiful.
Do y'all understand why, if it's coming right at us, we could have a problem?
Yes, because you can't see it until it's there.
All right, so if it's not coming at us, we get this nice plot across the sky.
Right.
If it's coming right at us,
it's a dot.
This is what we see. And we don't know it's coming at us until it gets big enough to realize, oh my God, let's see, where's the camera?
You got it. You're fine.
until it gets big enough to say, oh my gosh, it's coming at us. It's getting bigger. So that's the problem there. And our systems are designed to see differences in spatial location rather than size differential.
As with most tracking systems, they track movement and not points.
Yes.
But the good thing is with a lot of these, though, is we're doing a pretty good job of scanning the sky. And even the ones that are coming at us, sometimes they'll be visible not coming at us, right? Depending on where we are and where they are in orbit around the sun. It may be coming at us now, but in 6 months, it's going to be moving around and we might be able to see it. So over time, I think we'll get more and more of these catalogs. The problem is the smaller ones like this, because they're not always easy to see at a distance, right? The big ones are, but the small ones, not so much.
Everybody thinks, oh, they're really, really bright and shiny. Well, no, they're not. And they're actually surprisingly dark. Even the moon is surprisingly dark. And if it's small, now you've got something that's dark and something that's small. We see the moon because the moon is huge, relatively speaking. It subtends a large angle. And so if it's very tiny and it's dark, if the sun's not hitting it just right, we ain't gonna see it.
Think black ice.
Bingo.
Yep.
Literally.
That would be
only a little bit more hazardous.
Yeah. Sometimes it's more like black rock, but
To be fair, I've never slipped on an asteroid, but I have slipped on black ice and busted my asteroid.
Yeah.
Now,
Think
of the Doberman in a dog junkyard.
Yes.
I saw something. It was. I'm just going to call him the internet astronaut. He's the big guy that gets all the space questions.
Okay.
Platt?
No.
Zach.
Oh.
It's not Michio, it's the other guy.
Bill Nye?
No, not Bill Nye.
No. Michio Kaku.
Yeah.
The guy at the New York Planetarium.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Stephanie.
Tyson?
Yeah, I know. I'm just like, I can see
Neil deGrasse Tyson?
Tyson.
Yeah, that's it. Tyson.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
That's it.
He was doing some stage presentation at a huge theater. And, he had people up on stage, and he held up a basketball. He goes, okay, this basketball represents Earth. And then he handed them a tennis ball right next to it. And he says, this represents the size of the moon. Now step back until you think how far away the moon is from the Earth. Guy stepped back about 10 feet and he goes, keep going, keep going, keep going. The guy walked off the end of the stage and down the steps. He goes, keep going. He goes, all right, stop. He goes, that's how far away the moon is.
And the moon's close.
Yeah.
Who demoted Pluto, Carl? That would have been a committee.
Yeah. They're now looking for jobs.
Actually, I think it would actually be referred to as a Congress for multiple reasons.
Yeah.
Disney fired him.
This is not the green room.
Not the green room.
Thank God.
Yeah, Zach's saying there was another asteroid on January 12th this year that we didn't see until after it passed and came to 0.004 lunar distance, and today was 0.03.
Wow. Man.
Where's Jack Horkheimer, the star hustler, when you need him?
Back to the DART program. Have you seen the pictures? It looked like that little asteroid exploded.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's a lot of energy.
Would that be an indicator it's more of a rubble pile than a solid rock?
Maybe a little of both.
A little of both, I think, was my take on it. It's certainly going to blast its own debris.
Yeah, it's going to blow all the light debris that's just sitting on the surface of this thing. It's going to blow that all over the place. But it's also, just like an anti-tank penetrator, it's going to punch a hole that's going to create debris going one way.
Right.
And
it's going to make its own ejecta.
If it goes deep enough, it could actually blow debris the opposite direction as well. So
yeah.
And
ballistics is your stuff there, John. I keep forgetting that.
What? And when is the asteroid sample return supposed to drop?
Now that I don't know. I'd have to look that up.
It's on its way. Up. That's all I know.
I know it's coming up. And then that system's headed out to another asteroid, right? That the satellite or whatever.
I don't know the answer to that. I haven't kept up with that mission. I'd have to look it up.
OSIRIS-REx.
I'm looking at it right now. It says September of 2023.
So. And it's supposed to land where, in White Sands? No, Utah.
Utah Test and Training Range.
That's right next to Skinwalker Ranch.
Woohoo!
Okay.
We'll
Travis
Doc Travis will probably be out there. Yeah.
Hey, let's all go to the costume shop and buy alien costumes, and we'll hide down on the ground. And when the thing lands, everybody runs out there to get it. We'll all pop up and start walking around.
The day after my birthday.
Yeah,
really?
Zach saying September 24th. Now here's the thing that gets me. How long ago did they launch this rocket?
I mean, it's been years, right?
Yeah,
Years.
yeah.
You mean you can't tell me that, Joe? I'm very disappointed.
But now here's the big thing about it. Okay, they launched years and years ago, and they know within what 2 or 3 miles of where it's going to land.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That-
When
that-
you're communicating with the spacecraft using the Deep Space Network, which are those big 70-meter dishes that they use, you get good telemetry, but you also get ranging. And that tells you very precisely where you are because of the time of flight of the signal coming out and back from the transmitter to the receiver on the spacecraft and coming back, as well as they have the star trackers with relative position. You can know pretty darn accurately where you are, which is, it's pretty amazing.
It's
But,
exactly the opposite of the GPS network. GPS points down at the ground. The space tracking stuff points up. So
what we need is an interplanetary GPS, and that's actually been talked about. To put transponders on different spacecraft so that you can get even more precise ranging without having to use the network here. That would let spacecraft do a little bit better navigation. Yeah.
That is one of my pet peeves about going to the moon again, going to Mars, is that they have not sent stuff there to set up GPS networks around those two satellites. Well,
that's actually a big deal. It's called PN&T, position, navigation, and tracking. And there's a lot of push now to try to set up some kind of, at least in cislunar space, where there's expected to be a lot of traffic from commercial launches, and governments going to the moon, and the Chinese going to the moon, and us going to the moon, to have PN&T so that everybody can better keep track of each other.
Exactly. And A, you don't have people crashing into each other. B, it makes your landings a lot more accurate because you get much more accurate altitude and stuff like that. B, if you set it up as a satellite communications network, there's no blind spot. So you don't get on the dark side of the moon and then lose communications and stuff like that.
But then you've got a really long communications time.
That's physics. I can't fix that. I'm an engineer. I can fix problems with like telephones. Okay. I can't make, I can stretch the wire 80 million miles. I just can't make it work any faster.
Pull up the comment that he made before that.
Oh, that's what I thought I pulled up, but he popped another one. It says after dropping sample mission,
it changes from Osiris Rex to Osiris Apex and goes after Apophis.
Well, somebody needs to go after Apophis.
Yeah.
Apophis was a pretty bad dude on Stargate.
Oh, yeah. It's my understanding that's why they named this asteroid Apophis.
Yeah.
Because of that character?
Yep, that's right. When they found it, that was the name they suggested, and it was based on the fact that they were Stargate fans. Yep, that's what I've heard.
Now, Les, you had something to do with one of the solar sail projects, didn't you?
Yeah, that's what I've been working on, is solar sail projects, and they're got a sad story for one of them and an exciting story for the other one. We had one launch on Artemis 1 that I've been working on for about 8 years as one of the small secondary payloads, and it was to be a mission to go to an asteroid using a solar sail for propulsion. And I was down in Florida for the launch. We launched at, dark 30 in the morning, and it was beautiful. I was really pleased to be there. I was on the Kennedy Space Center when it went. And then went back to my hotel, got about 3.5 hours sleep, and I woke up for the first comm pass where we were going to start the communications and check out the spacecraft. And we didn't get a signal. And that's not unusual in the first comm pass. Sometimes things happen and you have to wait and kind of figure out if you're pointing the antenna in the right direction, and everything has to happen. But we've been trying every day since then, and the spacecraft never called home. Right. So never had a chance to deploy the solar sail. The sail wasn't going to deploy until about 17 days after launch, and we were going to have to command it to deploy the sail, but the spacecraft never answered the phone. So we don't know what happened to it. There are 2 of the 10 that happened with. And right now there are less than 5 of them still working. So we don't know what went wrong, and we're in the middle of a failure investigation trying to figure that out. So yeah.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
All the delays of having to roll it back to VAB, out pad, could the batteries have just died in that process?
Some of the spacecraft did not have rechargeable batteries, and that is it's on the list of why they may not have functioned or didn't function very long. They don't know for sure, but it might be a cause. Shouldn't have been for us, because we had designed ours to be rechargeable. And we were topped off, 6 weeks before launch, 2 months before launch. And actually, we haven't given up. Because the battery, if the spacecraft got off the rocket and something happened and it just didn't, something's not right and it hadn't talked to us yet, it has enough juice in the battery to last until June. And so we have access every day for about an hour and a half to one of the big dishes in the Deep Space Network, and we shout at the spacecraft every day. And there is a chance that we'll find it or that it'll call home. It's a small chance, but it's not 0. So we're still trying. In the meantime, I'm working on the next sail. It's called Solar Cruiser, which will probably fly in about 2027. And the sail is 17,800 square feet.
Ooh. Wow.
So it's really big. And it's going to enable some really ambitious science for future missions. So it's a step toward some pretty cool stuff, and we're working on that now. We just did a test deployment of 1 quadrant, 1/4 of the sail back in November, and it turned out really, really beautiful.
17,000. That's almost an acre.
It's big. I don't know how many square feet are in an acre, but it's pretty big. Yep, it's big.
Yeah, John's on it.
Mr. Google strikes again.
And what's neat about it is the material from which it's made is only about 2.5 microns thick, which for those of you that aren't as follically challenged as me, it's about the thickness of your hair.
43,560 square feet an acre.
So it's about a 1/4 acre.
So it's about half the size of my property here.
All right, Rich trying to ask something.
Because in conversations like this, the time goes so short. For those of us who don't have the pleasure of being friends with you on social media and stuff like that, where else can we follow you to get more of this information? Because this is really, really freaking fascinating to me.
Good question.
Sure. I'm on Facebook. I have a personal account, which is just me. And I think my Facebook account, hang on, you'd think I'd have it memorized, is Les Johnson Author, if you want to follow that. And I post stuff about my books as well as some NASA stuff on the Les Johnson Author on Facebook. I've also got a website, just lesjohnsonauthor.com. And for my NASA stuff, I list my NASA projects on that website. But I have to tell you, I write my books and stuff as a separate activity, and I'm not speaking for NASA when I do that. I do that off the books. But yeah, I'm out there. Please do check in on my Facebook page. Check out the website. I love talking to folks, emailing. Be glad to respond to most emails when I can. So yeah, thank you. I'm flattered.
And Don Doulis is Rich's fanboy.
And who would?
There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
I know, Stephanie, I know it's completely out of Les's wheelhouse, but I know a great place for him to hang out in October.
Yeah.
Hashtag always promote.
I think he's
could that be the sponsorship of this activity tonight that you're the ConCom for?
Yeah. I was reelected again. Damn it.
You weren't reelected, just nobody else wants to do it.
It helps if he's the only one voting.
No.
He picked the short straw.
It really is fun though, Liz. I mean,
it's a lot of fun.
I promise you will not go hungry.
Oh no, this is the truth. They feed you, and they feed you well.
Oh, that's good. Well, I might have to look into that.
And think of it as it's kind of a mini Liberty.
Yeah, it's a LibertyCon garden party basically with a horror
to refer
thing.
to it as a decompression.
I like that.
I've worked security for conventions for decades, and we had this thing. We used to refer to ChataCon as decompression. After they trimmed it down a little bit, made it a much smaller con than it used to. It kept growing, and it just got to be hard to manage. And they trimmed it down a bit, and we used to refer to that as a decompression for all the security staff that worked Dragon Con. And
Dragon Con! Oh my God!
Yeah, oh my God!
Yeah.
And all the security staff was like, "Hey, we didn't come here to relax. We didn't come here to work. We came here to relax."
I got to say hi, Daddy.
Oh, okay.
I got to behave now.
Yes, you
like that's going to work. He knows you're not going to.
Yeah. Well, let me go ahead and introduce. I think Daddy knows Dan and John. Joe Bachman is. I want to say you're not Indy. No, you said you're near Chicago.
Yeah, well, Indiana.
Indiana.
Yeah, it's near Chicago, Indiana.
And Richmond, Indiana also.
Yep.
And Bill is in Danville, Illinois, right? And
close, but no cigar.
And the two here across the bottom, Les Johnson and Stephanie Osborne. Stephanie is a author, lives in Huntsville, retired rocket scientist, and Les is a current rocket scientist with NASA.
And also an author in Huntsville.
Author. Yeah.
He just hasn't retired yet.
Not yet. It's going to be a long time before I retire.
Les is just up the hill from me. I mean, he could almost throw a chunk of rock out off his back porch and hit my house. But
is that what that sound was? Okay.
Asteroid.
I was over the hill.
Oh, you would do that when I had to cough. Oh.
But yeah, Les and I have known each other. He and me and Dr. Jim Woosley have known each other since graduate school. We hung out together a lot, and so Jim does defense work, and Les and I went more for the space.
Yeah, I just Stephanie, I just heard from somebody else that was in my group at Vanderbilt Physics that I don't know if you remember Pat Bunton. Remember that name? Yeah. Well, he is the chair of the physics department at the University of North Georgia, which is over in Dahlonega. And I'll be going over there. He contacted me. I haven't seen Patrick in 20 years, but I'll be going over in February to do a colloquium at the university over there. So,
okay, tell him I said hi.
You came up in conversation. He was trying to figure out who I've kept up with, and I mentioned you and Jim and others. So I'll tell him you said hello.
Okay, good deal.
Now, Les, I know this isn't your department, but I'm going to ask this big question: who is going to orbit first, ULA or SpaceX?
Oh boy, don't put me there. Given that I work for NASA, I really can't answer my opinion on that question. Even off the books, I can't answer that one. I'd get myself in trouble.
Somebody will find out.
Well, you saw what I posted or played right at the beginning of the show.
I did.
I hope you got a little giggle out of it.
But no, all that's good news, though. Really, I mean, competition's good. That's what you need, right? And you need these companies competing against each other and pushing the state of the art and getting costs down.
And it never hurts to have more than one basket for your eggs either.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
because somebody's going to figure out something the other guy didn't. That's just all there is to it.
Of course,
Stephanie, who can afford to buy eggs these days?
Now, I do remember you telling me something about another rocket company we won't mention, and hey, you said that they were going to. That one time we talked, you said they were going to be the next big thing, and then last time I talked to you, you said I missed that one.
Yeah, I did. I missed that one, and it still could happen, but it's been a lot slower than I expected.
Yeah,
a lot slower than I expected.
Now, what do you
think? Cryptic, folks. You'll have to infer who we're talking about.
Yeah. For some reason, I keep seeing a record label. I don't know.
Maybe not. I'm
but
thinking
they can usually get next day shipping.
Yeah. Now, what do you think about the? Of course, one of the first passengers was Shatner on the little suborbital hops. What do you think of that? Or can you not say?
No, I can. I think it's great. I would love to be able to afford to do it.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if that would, if they'd get the flight rate up on those, because that would probably bring down cost and make it more affordable. I think space tourism is a great thing. I really do. People say, oh, well, it's the wealthy, but just about every tourism starts out as the wealthy.
Yeah, really.
Back in the day, the only people that could afford to go to Florida for vacation back in the early 1800s were the extremely wealthy people from New York, right? Well, the Spanish, if you go way back, right?
and then it was the Caribbean.
Yeah, and so the wealthy people kind of pave the way, and as more and more of them go, the price comes down.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to make it affordable for our kids for sure.
Because the rich people are cheaper.
I don't know about you, Les, but I thought it was appropriate that Shatner was on that first flight.
Now, I'll tell you, there's somebody I wish would take that flight. Brian May.
Has he been offered?
No.
No, he has not.
I mean, if anybody should take that ride, it would be him.
Probably nobody's thought about it.
Well, this is true. But he's doing his he got his thesis done and got some recognition for that, as well as the music that he has been doing for so long, and got the Pluto flyby, the theme that he did for the video for that, the animation for that.
I'm waiting for Queen to go back out on the road.
Well, I think they are, aren't they?
Yeah.
Not sure.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, they are. I think. I'm actually corresponding with Brian May because I'm trying to get him to come to the Interstellar Research Group meeting in Montreal this summer.
Oh, y'all.
He thinks it'd be great to do, but he can't commit because he doesn't know Queen's touring schedule yet. So, but I've invited him.
Problems.
We've exchanged a few emails. You happen to mention one of the few famous musicians I'm actually corresponding with. So, yeah, I'm hoping he can join us up there. I think it'd be great to get a perspective of someone like that, and I think he'd bring a lot of attention to the whole notion of future interstellar travel. I think it'd be good for the community if we could get him.
I had a thought. They have a lottery for everything else. Why not have a lottery to have people go on the flights? Of course, you would have to pass physicals and all, but put it in there, and instead of winning $1.7 billion or whatever the Mega Millions is, you win a flight on the next.
What, John?
Oh, yeah.
If you win the lottery, you could buy a seat. So
yeah,
you can win a couple. You can turn it into a party bus.
I always said if I ever became emperor of the United States, and it could happen, one of the things I would institute is lotteries for, instead of going to education, which most lotteries do, having one for the National Park Service, where your money goes to fund national parks, and war memorials, so that all these all these people that thought that owning an aircraft carrier as a war memorial would be a good idea, and then realized that's like $1 million in maintenance every year at least. Get them a little funding so they can take care of all the battleships and aircraft carriers.
Well, what about that you thought that everybody should just be randomly appointed to Congress for 4 years?
That's a good one too. But actually, I don't know if I'd randomly appoint it, because let's face it,
idiots
You
out
got
there.
that bell curve, you know.
Yeah, that's kind of thing.
There was a science fiction short story about that back in the 40s, wasn't there?
There was a movie about it, wasn't there? Idiocracy.
Idiocracy. Yeah. No, but seriously, there was a science fiction story, because I remember reading it. It was old when I read it, and it was
there was a Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
He played a hobbit.
I'll be right back.
It's one of the actors that played a hobbit wound up becoming a terrorist.
John Hurt?
No, played a hobbit.
He played a hobbit?
Yes, in
but
Lord
not
of
the Hobbit.
Not the Hobbit.
Okay.
He took over the TV station and started broadcasting intelligent broadcasts, kind of like NPR kind of things. So, of course, the government killed him.
See, I like the idea of, everybody serves 2 years in the military and 2 years in retail. If you can survive both of those.
I don't. Okay, I had an idea that if I ever became emperor of the United States, I would make it mandatory you had to spend 2 years in civil service.
You are not
rich
military, in the fire department, medical training as an ambulance driver, paramedic, nurses, practical. Yeah, just you got training in something, and you could pick which training you wanted to go into. If you didn't agree with the military, you could go into being you could either be a fire department specialist, or, and this is even more important, mass casualty workers. You're trained in first aid, you're trained in fighting forest fires, you're trained in setting up perimeters around disaster areas. The first year's like basic training. The second year, you get your advanced training, and you get paid good money for that. And then you can go out and do whatever the heck you want to, if you don't want to continue with the career.
No, still 2 years of retail after that.
Now,
Rich,
I did 35 years of retail, so.
Rich was trying to say something, and the computer he turned into a robot. We didn't hear it.
What I was going to say is, if not military, some type of public service for those that are unable to survive portly individuals like myself.
There are only so many people on the planet that can run a floor buffer. So that's.
Well, John, I believe I heard the other day that one of the guys in the boy band BTM, he's going in the Chinese military.
Korean.
And I guess they're eventually all of them going to. They have to serve.
They have a conscription military. Yes, they have to serve.
Yeah.
So
BTM's not going to be back out on the road for like 2 years or something now.
I think Korea's 2 years. France was.
I mean, the example of that was Elvis Presley, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he actually got drafted during the Vietnam War.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but he went.
Kind of cool too. But hey, we needed people in Germany too. France has a conscription army. They have to spend 1 year in the military. And it's basically like 1 year of basic training and AIT. And the only reason they go is so they can get the hell out. It's kind of interesting. The unit that I was working with at the time, they do the basic training bit, and then they do the advanced training. And then right at the end, like their last 3 weeks in the military before they in their conscription. They sent them to French commando school.
No, that sounds cool.
It's this little breezy.
Ho, ho, ho.
They give you a taste of what it's like to be a French commando. And they basically show you this is the professional French military. And it was really well in Berlin, because the Allied Powers Act, the Americans would send a platoon up there to train along with them for the French commando school segment. So we got to go to French commando school. So you got all these French guys that 85% of them really don't want to be there. And they're short timers. They're ready to go home. And then you get that 15% that's kind of like, this military thing ain't that darn bad. And
well, I have to tell you, I just got back from a personal trip. My wife and I went to Israel as tourists.
They have a conscription army as well.
In November. And I'm telling you, this is betraying my age. When I saw some of the IDF soldiers, my goodness, they were young. They looked like, teenagers with machine guns. It was a little disconcerting.
I'm sorry, Les, but you just frightened 2/3 of America. Teenagers with machine guns. Oh, no.
I got to meet, I had been in the Army for about 7 years, and I got to meet my drill sergeant. And it just so happens, I was heading out on leave. He was heading into my unit. He had just gotten reassigned to the same unit I was in Berlin. And we ran into each other at the Frankfurt train station in the military office that they have there for doing paperwork. And I was like, Drill Sergeant Ashley. He said, oh, man. Turns out he had hurt his back, and he was basically being medicaled out of the military. I found out later. But we got to talk and everything. And says, first of all, I want to apologize to you, Drill, for being a dumbass. Okay. Because I had been in the military for 7 years, and I realized how big a dumbass I had been in basic training. Okay. And then after several years in the military, you look at these kids and you're like, God, was I ever that stupid? And then it occurs to you.
Yes.
Yes, I was exactly that stupid, if not worse. And I apologized to him right there. I apologized to him right there in the middle of the train station. He laughed so hard he hurt his back.
Oh, so you're the reason
you said something a little while ago about French commandos. And the actor who recently passed away that played LeBeau on Hogan's Heroes, was he not a French commando in WW2?
No, he was in a concentration camp.
He was a survivor of one of the.
I think he had something to do with the resistance, sort of, but he got arrested early on. He spent most of his time in a POW camp. I can't remember.
Oh, okay.
One of the concentration camps. And
but he was fighting against the Nazis in that initially, though, wasn't he?
Maybe, we're not sure, because it happened kind of quick. Yeah. Everybody in France
he signed up and then got arrested. Pretty much real quick.
Here's something
Robert Clary?
Robert Clary.
Yep.
Yeah.
Here's something that I learned about the actors Schultz and Klink. They were Jewish.
Yeah, both of them.
Yeah.
So was Clary.
Yep.
Yeah.
Clary was.
I couldn't remember if Clary was Jewish or not. I didn't want to say anything. But the original Stalag 17 movie.
Yeah, Robert Clary. That's right.
That Hogan's Heroes was based on, sort of. The guy that played Schultz, kind of interesting. He was actually and they kind of talked about it in the movie. It's kind of funny. He was actually a Jewish German wrestler. He was a professional wrestler and had gone to America as a professional wrestler and wound up, it's kind of funny, he wound up was getting into acting because of what was going on in Germany. He didn't go back to Germany. He stayed in America, and he wound up acting as a German in propaganda films.
And see, Les, this is what we're talking about. The subject will change before you even know what.
Really?
Where we're going, we need no rails.
And some people do go both ways.
Where we're
We
going,
do need a
don't need
whiteboard somewhere to write this stuff down, but that's what the chat's for.
You diagram it and see how you got there.
I'm going to tell you, if we ever brought somebody in to just keep track of when we made a change, they'd quit the first night.
Yeah, it's.
I'd give them 20 minutes before you start seeing the smoke start coming out of their ears.
Keep a notepad handy because we are a science fiction writer cornucopia of ideas. Okay, it's just.
We only feel.
Donna is really good about writing hashtags down. Maybe we ought to employ her.
Well, you were, John, you were talking about the GPS and what'd you call it, Les? Something PT?
What was the context? I'm sorry.
GPS?
Deep Space
planetary
Network?
GPS.
Planetary network.
PNT. Yeah, position, navigation, and timing. PNT. Yeah.
Well,
Which is how GPS works. Yeah.
Believe it or not, there is a system online right now that they could deploy around the moon today.
Oh, why do I know what this is?
Yeah, I'm fanboying.
Mm-hmm.
Starlink.
Yet I still can't get internet here in Oakwood.
But we're going to have it on the moon, and it's going to be better than yours, Bill.
Anything's better than mine.
Hey, well, one good thing about if you put Starlink around the moon, you wouldn't have any atmospheric interruptions.
Not there.
I think they could do something like that, but I'm not sure about what the environment's like and how similar that is to LEO, low Earth orbit. They'd probably have to tweak the design a little bit for deep space because when you're in low Earth orbit, where those are, you're protected from the radiation by the Earth's magnetic field and magnetosphere. So they'd probably have to harden them a little bit to get them to last a while at the moon.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, I think other than that, the fundamental function of it probably would be fine.
Now,
they just have to harden the electronics.
The moon doesn't have much of a magnetic field, does it?
No.
Well, and then that orbit would be subject to every environmental, from the solar wind and even random crap from Earth and coronal mass ejections and everything.
Well, and an occasional Centaur second stage flying by.
Hey, but that's on the schedule.
Yeah. No, I think we're eventually going to have something like that on the moon. But I also know people who'll be really upset if we do, because there's a whole group that's trying to keep the lunar far side radio quiet.
Yes.
For astronomy and everything else. And that would, but we're going to have something will have to happen if we're actually going to be on the moon permanently. Yeah. So there's going to be something they're going to have to deal with.
What is that called? That Arecibo thing they're thinking about putting in a crater on the far side of the moon.
I don't know what it's called, but basically basically you just pick a big crater and line it with tinfoil and set it up with the right electronics, and
they were thinking about. They were going to
50-mile wide.
They were going to drop a bunch of robots.
Dish.
They were going to drop a bunch of robots onto this crater, have them run back and forth with wire, and build a dish basically in the crater for doing the same job that Arecibo used to do.
Well, I think in the long term, that's a great idea.
Radio telescope. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Steph.
No, the only thing I'm finding online is something called Lunar Crater Radio Telescope.
That's the idea that we've been reading about for years. I mean, hell, Robert Heinlein probably came up with it, but neither him or
well, he came up with a giant mass driver that was shooting rocks at Earth. I don't know if he ever came up with a deep space tracking system.
Well, if they ever put people on the moon, they better not call it Moonbase Alpha, because we all know what happened there.
Yeah, there's a precedent for that one. Yeah.
Hey, the moon is a harsh mistress.
Remind me again. Why
Oh.
hang out with these pranksters?
I got to throw out to the two authors down here.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Two?
They're thinking the closest planet to us, possibly with any life or whatever, is like 12 light years away.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Okay. If there's a spacefaring civilization out around there, they're just now seeing TV switch off of broadcast.
If they can see it at all.
Yeah.
So what you're saying?
Because it dropped off in
2009. Right? And they all dropped off.
Who's this new guy named Uncle Milty?
Yeah. and it all dropped off in 2009. So it's just now getting there that the TVs are going silent on Earth.
How many light years away?
12.
That should have gotten there a lot sooner. That they'd probably be getting Kolchak the Night Stalker by now.
But
which would make for a really strange alien encounter.
Yeah, but the thing is, if they're able to come
Paramount
here,
Pay going to get you.
They're just now finding out that, hey, what happened to Earth? So
that's actually one of the possible solutions in the Fermi paradox. Is that we're not detecting any civilizations because they've developed technology where they no longer need to broadcast. So
they got cable, so we can't pick them up.
Right.
I've read that.
They just don't want to broadcast to us.
I think I know. Thinking about the time lag and all that to this near Earth planet, I think I figured out why they haven't contacted Earth.
They've been
the love boat soon will be making another run.
Nope. I've got two words that will explain any lack of alien contact if they are depending on electromagnetic signals to be able to find out if there's any intelligent life here. Talk radio.
Yeah.
It's because Art Bell died and they don't like George Norrie.
Talk radio will probably actually get them to call us because just sooner or later they'll be like, "God damn it, I gotta call in on this." No.
boost your volume, John.
Oh, up or down?
Now I have a question because for a long time the thing that we were broadcasting the strongest regular signals was the early warning radar network back during the Cold War, the DEW. And it was a pretty regular period thing that would be obvious it was created by intelligence. And it was extremely powerful signal that was pointed up and out, right? Looking for the missiles coming over. Does the DEW line still exist? Do you all know?
Partially.
Or are we now relying on satellites? It was a direct early warning or something like that. And it was a bunch of radars all along the northern perimeter of Canada looking over the poles to see if
they
the
still
Soviets
have a
were
few
watching.
of them operational.
Okay.
Thule Air Force Base still has them. There's a place in Alaska, and there's a couple in Canada. And it's not the same DEW line though. It's advanced stuff, and it's looking over the North Pole basically.
Okay. Because I know a lot of that, monitoring went to satellites, and I didn't know if they were still doing that. So, these aliens may not see the Love Boat, but they would sure see our radar signals if they had the receivers at the right frequency, because they'd be really loud.
Carl Witzman says, long-time alien listener, first-time alien caller.
I'm pretty sure when the aliens fly by,
that's a good way to alienate us.
Yeah, Joe Bachman just nailed it. Say that again.
I'm pretty sure when they fly by, they roll up the windows and lock the doors, and kind of like going through the south side of Chicago, hands at 10 and 2, and you just look straight forward.
Roll them up.
pull them up and keep on going.
Yep.
Don't
Pay
make eye
any
contact.
attention to the hitchhikers.
Or that was St. Louis, actually.
This
Don't
seems
make-
like a nice neighborhood. Bang! Roll 'em up.
Yeah.
Don't make eye contact. Don't make eye contact.
Too late. You look.
And believe me, that's the truth down there too.
I don't know what's happening to John. His camera.
I keep hitting the wrong darn button.
It's the aliens.
I can click on anybody's picture down here.
Trying to make contact.
And adjust their mic settings. But if I try and do that same thing to me, it kicks me off. So what I wound up having to do is go down settings. Yeah.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Pulling off here. Keep it off.
Les, tell me you're not just now eating supper.
I'm just snacking on broccoli.
Okay, all right.
Oh, lucky
I
man.
I
had
saw
supper
something earlier
earlier.
that looked like a French fry with ketchup. So
No. It's just broccoli. I had dinner earlier, and my wife just decided she was going to fix some broccoli, and she brought me some. So I'm gonna snack on the broccoli. Sorry if it's distracting. I apologize.
no,
Oh,
I
no,
just,
no.
No worries.
I just was hoping
just
that you had
jealous.
time to eat.
Broccoli.
I got to tell you though, we had a dog for 16 years. She died the year before COVID started. Her name was Panda. She would beg for broccoli. She just
Really?
loved vegetables, and she would jump up on the couch, do whatever you ask her to do to get broccoli. She loved it.
I have a pet pig, a Vietnamese potbelly pig, and you think that they'd eat all sorts of vegetables. No, he will not eat salad, just anything of that nature. Won't eat broccoli unless you put ranch dressing on it.
Mm.
Then he'll eat the heck out of it.
I won't eat a salad either without at least ranch
Want a
dressing
little
on it.
ketchup with that broccoli?
Oh, John, when you keep hitting the wrong button, I've got the cure right here.
No. I was going to ask, I was glad to see Stephanie tonight, and I was going to ask her a question, but I don't want to get off NASA scientist sort of stuff. I want to get into Stephanie's part of the woods there. I got a question for Stephanie, and to give you a little backstory. I was laying in bed one night going to sleep, and you know how your brain comes up with just these really wild ideas.
That's when
I
I get
usually
my
write
best
them down.
story ideas. Yes.
So I'm laying there, and my brain goes, you know, the Chicxulub impactor hit, off north coast of Mexico. Just killed off, tsunami and everything, killed off all the dinosaurs. But Pangea, the continent that used to be the one continent on Earth that broke up and split apart and created the Atlantic Ocean.
There's been several.
Yes. How wide was the Atlantic Ocean when the Chicxulub impactor hit? Because I know the coastline of the United States was a lot closer to Atlanta. I don't think there was a Florida back then. Actually,
No.
I don't.
I actually saw something the other day. Africa and Europe were 2,000 miles closer.
So there was a much smaller Atlantic Ocean back then.
Yeah, the Atlantic Ocean was more like the Atlantic Lake.
Yeah, because for those of you who don't know, all the landmass on Earth used to be one big continent, and because of
at several different points
several
in
different
Earth's
times, yeah,
geologic history.
so it broke apart. North America. Oh, I keep forgetting this is a mirror. North America shifted away and created the Atlantic Ocean. Atlantic Ocean didn't exist. It used to be a river or a lake. And it is still doing that.
Yeah.
Like 1 inch a year. It's this much every year. North America's moving away from Europe and Africa. So when the dinosaurs were killed, they might have been able to swim to Africa. I don't know. But
No.
I wouldn't think
it
so.
wouldn't have mattered if they could.
Yeah, well,
because that triggered quite a few basically global catastrophes,
and may have actually accelerated that shift of the Atlantic Ocean. It may have, the Chicxulub impactor may have hit hard enough to actually accelerate the expansion of the Atlantic Ocean and the fault line and all sorts of stuff.
That one, I don't possess the maths to be able to figure on that one. No.
But you're talking a lot of energy. So.
Yeah,
it has a lot of energy.
Kind of, but
I mean, it's what I like to refer to as mathematical energy, because you can't describe it in horsepower. You gotta
well, tectonic plate shift is also a huge amount of energy too. It just happens really slowly.
There is the only way it could accelerate. This is Steph sitting here brainstorming. All right.
Yeah, that's what I wanted.
The only way I see it accelerating the movement of the tectonic plates is if it came in at a shallow enough angle in the correct direction to do it. And there is debate currently about how much of an angle at which it impacted. Trying to get my grammar correct here.
A lot of the asteroids back in that time period were coming in from the north, if I remember correct. If I remember the thing correctly.
Yeah, I'm trying to recall.
It would have had to buzz Europe to make that much of a hit.
Well, yeah.
I think it came in over the North Pole, but I may be thinking of different asteroids. I know meteor craters supposedly came in from the north.
Let me see.
Arizona.
Okay, according to this, according to what I'm seeing, it came in at roughly a 60-degree angle. Seems to be. So that's actually not that far off vertical.
No.
Let me see if I can get the direction.
While she's looking, if you're interested in seeing visual evidence of the North American plate moving away from the Eurasian plate, go to Iceland. They have what's called the Rift Valley. I was up there a few years ago, and you go into this valley and you look, it's flat. It's about a half a mile wide or a mile wide. I've forgotten, it's pretty big. And there's a mountain silhouette on one side on the east, and exactly matching every peak on the west is another mountain, and they both have like this sheer cutoff where they've been separated, and that valley is growing at about an inch a year. It gets farther and farther apart.
There's a place, I want to say it's in Maine, it's somewhere up in New England, but the rock strata, if you go to the places where the rocks are broken, if you look at the rock strata, there's a place in Scotland you can go to.
Yes.
That has the exact same rock strata.
That's way cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, millions of years ago, it used to be the same cliff face, basically.
Well, yeah. I was reading that not too long ago myself. Basically the Smokies and the Appalachians
used to be in Yorkshire.
England was part of that chain until the Atlantic decided to break things up and crashed the party. But
all right, I've got an answer for John.
Yes.
Okay. Apparently the Imperial College London has been doing some modeling of the impact, and their modeling simulations indicate that the asteroid struck at about 60 degrees above the horizon and approached the target from the northeast. So yes, it could have slightly sped up the breaking apart, the widening of
right.
The
Ballistically, that sounds correct.
It came in over New York City.
Yes, actually.
New York
New York
City.
City.
No,
Nothing good comes out of New York City. This
well,
just
it was
goes
in
to
Mexico,
prove
so
that's
tacos,
just more evidence.
Hey.
But
salsa.
Lou Reed
The thing
came
is-
out of New York City.
Well, one of the things, and I know this from crater analysis, ballistics, and such, is that even a shallow impact coming in a very shallow angle tends to make a circular crater.
Yeah.
It's the spall
ejecta
that comes out of it, the ejecta, that tells you which direction it came in from. That's how you do your crater
Pretty
analysis.
much. There are a few instances where there are oblong craters, but yeah, generally you're right. So,
one of the other things got me thinking about this. I was looking at something the other day, popped up on Facebook, about the fall line. And it runs from Columbus, Georgia, across Georgia, up to Augusta, Georgia, and then it travels on out across South Carolina.
And this is one of the instances where you do get the oblong craters. Yes.
That used to be the shoreline for the Atlantic Ocean. Was from Columbus, Georgia, up to Augusta, Georgia. And the landmass has risen, tectonic plate has risen, and all sorts of stuff like that. So the ocean has moved out, and now we have Florida. But it used to run all the way across through Alabama, Mississippi, down to Louisiana, towards Texas, and stuff like that. All this stuff used to be underwater millions and millions of years ago.
Yeah, look at all the Georgia red clay that was the sea.
Everything. Well, that's just interesting. You mentioned that. Is everything north of the fall line is Georgia red clay. Everything south of it is sandy soil, where it used to be underwater. And the reason they call it the fall line is this line across there. Part of it is part of the Appalachian. The north part is part of the Appalachian Plateau, sort of foothills of it. And then you got this 20-mile area where it drops off suddenly about 20 feet in elevation, over 20 miles. So it's a fairly rapid drop off for the most part. But all along this fall line, there are waterfalls where the rivers used to run into the ocean, basically. And this is where early industry in the United States used to set up all the water mills throughout Georgia for industrial purposes, is running the dams and such off of these waterfalls. How it got its name, the fall line. But it amazed me that it was that far inland. I mean, that's almost Atlanta. So if this thing did impact back when the fall line was a shoreline, that means that tsunami probably made it, well, up to Les's neck of the woods up in Kentucky and such.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen them talk about that. The tsunami went very far in.
Well, they actually they've been able to find what you would think of as the high tide mark, because they have found the debris it left behind.
Right.
And it's way the heck inland.
Was it Utah or something like that, or
in the out west, I'm not sure, because it turns out there was actually an inland ocean of sorts that ran, diagonally up. So North America was actually two land masses at that point.
When I was stationed at Fort Irwin, they talked about that, how that entire area of desert around there used to be a sea bottom. And if you know where to dig, you can find sea fossils all around Fort Irwin, California, where the National Training Center is.
Does not surprise me.
Well, as you walk around even here, you find fossils.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
When my kids were little, I have a friend who's a geologist, and he showed me how to quickly spot fossils. And now I can't take a hike anywhere without looking down on the ground and saying, I bet if I look at that rock and clean it off, sure enough, there's a fossil. They're all over the place.
I grew up in the country outside of Clarksville, Tennessee, and we had like 5 acres worth of yard. And there were places in the yard you didn't have to dig down far, and you would come across gigantic. I mean, there was a reef there. All right, it was like chunks of coral bigger than my childhood body. It just all through there. So there had to have been a reef there, and that was up in northern Tennessee. So,
well, we've reached part of the show to where a lot of the regulars here have taken a line from Stephanie, and I'll be right back. I got to go down the hall.
Oh,
well, I'm going to have to get off for the evening here in a minute. I don't think I can hang real late tonight with you guys.
Oh, okay.
Well, we only got 30 minutes of show left.
Yeah, there's only 30 minutes left. Yeah, but give me time to get right back, and I'll. Yeah, I got to run down the hall real quick.
Nope. I can hang on.
Run to the border.
Les, that comes. Sorry, Les, that comes from when I was working shuttle missions and was sitting in the control center, and whenever somebody needed to hit the restroom, like, I'm headed down the hall. I'll be right back.
You're going to buy Joe better rubber band.
Time to play Stairway to Heaven.
Just be honest. You need a biological break.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Or as I like to phrase it in the monthly Larry and Evan chat, excuse me, rented beer.
Stephanie, I read a really, really good book. It wasn't about the KT impact with the dinosaurs. It was about the Permian extinction.
Yeah.
And it's a book called When Life Nearly Died. Because apparently that extinction was like 170 million years ago or 260 or something like it. It was a long time ago. And 90% of the species on the planet went extinct.
The Great Dying, yes.
Is that the one where oxygenating plants killed everything?
No, that's way further back.
Yeah, I think that's way further back. This was they finally kind of figured out what the cause was. The book was this is a mouthful to say, but it was a paleontological detective story. It was basically they were giving you all the clues and leading you to the theory of what probably caused it at the end. And it was one of these popular science page turners for me. I'm a total nerd, right? And your byline at the beginning of the show said this is the show for nerds, so I fit right in. And I read the book. It's a huge book. Here we go. Oh, there's the camera. It's a big, big old book, but it's really, really interesting. And they concluded, I'll cut to the chase, that it was volcanoes in what is now Russia. And they have since dug and found like a mile-deep lava field from that eruption that caused the Permian extinction.
Was it a trap eruption?
I don't know what that means, Stephanie. What's a trap eruption?
A trap eruption is like a gigantic version of what recently happened in Hawaii, where you have the cracks open up and just ooze lava all over everything. Okay. Except it is so large that it's actually considered a non-explosive supervolcano.
Well, I think this was also explosive because it apparently put a bunch of stuff in the air, and it changed the pH of the oceans, which is what just about killed all the aquatic life, and then the land life didn't last long, and it was a really bleak time. And that was what gave rise to the dinosaurs, is they came after that, right?
Yeah.
So it's a real interesting book, When Life Nearly Died.
Well, some geologists refer to it as the Great Dying. So, because it was the worst extinction event in geologic history that we can tell. Siberian traps.
Yeah, Siberian traps. Yes.
Yeah,
not to be confused with the Deccan traps, which is down in India, I think.
Yes.
Okay. I don't have a firm grasp on geography, but
the Deccan traps, they keep trying to blame the Deccan traps for the KT extinction, but the extinction event, as determined by the particular stratum, is actually in between the layers of Deccan eruptions. So,
but it probably would have triggered volcanic eruptions, right?
Oh, I don't doubt it.
Oh, yeah.
But it wouldn't have been just the Deccan. I mean,
no.
But what I'm saying is, I wouldn't be at all surprised if right in the middle of the whole KT impact, era, there was a lot of volcanic activity, right?
oh, I wouldn't doubt it. After
Yeah.
the impact, good night.
Oh, yeah.
The Earth
that would have set
probably
up.
was ringing like a bell.
That would have set off a lot of stuff that was basically just metastable. Might be the right
Yeah.
word, but until it gets jarred, it's not going to fall over. But it got jarred.
Oh boy, did it!
Oh, you're saying that asteroid hit the Earth so hard the moon felt it?
No, but potentially, yeah, actually, because some of the ejecta would have reached. Some of the ejecta reached escape velocity.
Probably so. That's a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And I can imagine some stuff did. Yep.
And
The House of Cards got nudged.
Right. They say the moon has been slowly robbing atmosphere from the Earth for billions of years. Every time there's a major impact on the atmosphere, the moon seems to pick up some of it.
Okay.
And
but then
everybody
it
says,
can't hang on to it.
Yeah, it can't.
No.
But strange enough, a lot of people don't know this. The moon actually has a very slight atmosphere.
Yes.
It's about a foot high.
Actually, it's higher than that. But if it were at our density, then yes, it would be about a foot high.
Yeah,
But actually, the stuff that is in orbit has detected it because, among other things, they have detected radon.
Yeah.
At lunar orbital level, so they know that somewhere down there's uranium because radon is a daughter product. If it decays far enough, it reaches radon.
What fascinates me is the I recently found out that somehow because of the day-night cycle, there's this tremendous amount of static in the dust on the lunar surface.
Oh yeah. It actually levitates.
Static electricity.
Yeah.
It
That
levitates
fascinated
as
me.
as the Terminator line moves across the surface. It levitates a little bit off the ground from the static electricity of the energy of the sun and the solar wind causes it to levitate.
And they actually had a lot of problems with it on the Apollo missions.
Sticks to everything.
Sticks to everything. Yeah.
Matter of fact, the military even has a term for that fine dust in the desert that sticks to everything. Call it moon dust, just because of that. So.
Okay.
I heard it once
cool.
when I was on vacation in Florida. That damn sand gets everywhere.
I saw that in a movie once.
Oh.
This is actually finer than sand.
Of course. It's irritating.
It would
gets
have to be.
everywhere.
It's finer than talcum powder, right?
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's got sharp edges.
Yes. Well, if you
Make-
think about it, the particles of soil on Earth have round edges because we have
Erosion. Yeah. There is no erosion on the moon, basically. So all the dust there, all the broken rock and everything is.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm reading Carl's comment.
That's why he's here.
Yep. I'm sorry. What were you saying now, John?
It's Alexander Shunara.
Yes.
Oh.
Is he much outside Alabama?
I've seen his signs in Tennessee and Georgia. I don't know about up in Indiana. They probably
Y'all know
have
who
their
we're
own
talking
version.
about?
No.
He's based in Birmingham, but he's one of those lawyers that does the if you've had such and such happen, call me, and
His signs are everywhere
down here.
You got
5 miles on the interstate without.
What I love about those,
billboard.
we've actually had some of them pop up online. If you or a family member have died because of this, contact us now. You may be due compensation. I'm going.
If you were shot into space by NASA and didn't get your frequent flyer miles, you may be due compensation. Call.
Yeah.
When those commercials come on in the break room, the attorneys at work just start mocking him and ripping him a new one.
I don't doubt it.
But see,
You better
the thing
hope
is,
that
this guy's
ambulance
gotta make
doesn't
a lot of
stop
money.
fast, or he's going to have his face planted into the back of it.
I want to
He
call him.
must make a pot of money. because his advertising budget is huge, right?
Yeah.
So either he's spending every penny on advertising, or he's got
Well,
a huge client base.
Law, as that's applied, they usually don't charge the their people that are representing their clientele unless they win. But because of how much work they put into something, they take a percentage of the winnings. So therefore, they're making money hand over fist over these corporations and these other entities that they're suing on behalf of their clientele, and the clientele is making okay money off.
And every lawyer does it because they can take so much off in taxes as a business loss for advertising.
True.
Win or lose, they still advertise.
Well, John, you can remember the commercials. There's 2 lawyers here in town that their big catch line for a while is, "Don't hire no Alabama attorney."
That would have been who they were referencing, I'm
Was
sure.
it Whitaker and something?
Well, we're not going to take, but come to find out, they're Tennessee graduates. One of them drives an orange electric BMW. The electric BMW sports car, that's the fancy one. It's orange and white.
He wants everybody to see him coming.
Oh, that's Tennessee. That's Tennessee's colors.
Yeah.
Big orange.
Yeah, I do know. I do know.
Speaking of stuff from Alabama that needs to be painted orange, would any of you are any of you still interested in helping me steal a rocket? Okay.
Are you talking about from the visitor center?
My theory.
I got a
theory. Okay, go ahead, Joe.
You tell your story and then let me finish it.
Constitutional reappropriation, not stealing.
I was going to get some people to go down there with a crane, okay, pull it apart, take it up to the river, load it on a barge, ship it up to Knoxville, hold it for ransom from the people of Alabama that if they don't pay for the upkeep of this rocket, we're going to paint it orange and assemble it in front of Neyland Stadium. Okay.
Sweetheart, the problem is that the rocket, I doubt you could take it apart successfully at this point, because it was not designed to sit out in the weather
crumble
for decades, and it's come apart.
I got an idea for that, but we'd have to hit every Home Depot in like 150-mile radius and buy all of the great
I know what he's going to say.
Foam.
And just
go in, poke a hole in it, and fill the entire fuel tank,
Flex seal,
all the space in between the fuel tanks with great stuff foam.
Now,
it would probably float, and we wouldn't need a barge.
That's what the Flex Seal's for. Keep the water out.
Well, no, you laugh, but when I was in Israel, they had told the story of a boat they found on the Sea of Galilee that was 2,000 years old, and it was the shell of the wood of the boat. And as they were digging it out from the mud, they were worried that it was going to basically disintegrate. So to get it out and into the museum, they used that kind of foam, and they just totally encased it in the foam. And then they came in with a crane and lifted it up and moved it and brought it indoors. And then they have a way to dissolve the foam off of it, and you get back to the artifact itself. So yeah, that might work.
It was what made me laugh was that it would probably float without a barge. That was what because you might be right.
Yes.
Well, here,
hey, if you go to Party City and fill the damn thing with helium, it might float without a barge too.
We'll fill up the fuel tanks with helium, tie a string to it, and just walk it up to Tennessee.
You know something? You guys are getting slap happy.
This is
no, family. This isn't slap happy yet.
Be like the movie Up with balloons.
Now, let me finish up with what I did. going off John's story. There was somebody in Alabama who's a YouTuber, went and made the video and everything about, how we have to do this and all this. And, if we have to, we'll sneak in at night and steal it. Well, I put in the comment, well, on my podcast, we discussed doing the exact same thing, except taking it up to Knoxville and putting it back up in front of Neyland Stadium and charging Alabama $200,000 a year for upkeep. And if they don't, we're going to paint it orange. Reply back. We'll cut the damn thing in so many pieces you can't move
it. I'm really good at jigsaw. I put it back together.
My take on it is what I think they ought to do is basically what they did with the Saturn V at the U.S. Space and Rocket Center. They took it down, they took it inside, they refurbished it, they built the building around it, and for the outside display, they erected a mock-up, full-scale mock-up that fit building codes so that when the tornadoes come through, it's not going to go flying away in pieces parts. I think that's the same thing they ought to do up here at the Welcome Center.
I admire you. I admire the way you said when for the tornadoes.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, it's not a question of if the tornadoes come through. They come through here on a regular basis.
Especially if you got something laying there that looks like a trailer park.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I know exactly. Around here, they come through in... they tend to train over the same areas. They've got tracks.
Mm-hmm.
And my house is actually between the tracks, but one of them goes up by Athens, and one of them goes across the Arsenal. So yeah, I'm kind of, Les and I are kind of in between. So yeah.
They come through so often. They stop by, say, "How's your mom? I have a glass of sweet tea."
Pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well,
the Christmas card from them every year.
Hit 3 times.
The what?
By tornadoes. There's a subdivision in northwest Huntsville that's been hit 3 times since I've lived here by a tornado. One time is just a bad day. 2 times is a coincidence. 3 times is put the house up for sale.
I will put it up after the second time, especially if it was still standing, because then you're just tempting fate.
Mm-hmm.
There's one trailer park over in Athens, Georgia. It's been demolished by tornadoes at least twice. And they keep putting trailers back.
NIT. Once is a fluke, twice is a coincidence, 3 times, there's an investigation that needs to be put in.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Yard sale.
As a comedian once said, don't you people know God hates trailer parks?
Can you imagine living in a trailer park? Your trailer park gets hit by a tornado. Red Cross, FEMA comes in, and what do? Put you in another damn trailer park.
According to what I was told when I started doing my research on all of that, because I investigate all kinds of stuff, folks, just because the curiosity says, why, and one of the things I found out was that back when the Europeans were just moving into the area and there were Native American inhabitants all over, the Native Americans did not live in the open fields. They lived in the woods. Why? Because if there were woods there weren't tornadoes coming through. And they were like, what is the matter with these Europeans that are settling in the tornado tracks? And so, yeah.
Eventually they'll learn. Maybe.
There's a reason it's not overgrown.
Yeah. Oh, there's one nice thing about the place where I have my property. Evidently, there is, because of the topography of the area, there's something that causes storms and tornadoes to split and go on either side of my property. So we have had a neighbor 2 doors down. A lot of their stuff got ripped up by one that came through here a couple of years ago. Folks across the street, one of their trees out in their cattle pasture, for the longest time, you could actually see where it had set down and corkscrewed the top out of the tree. You could see where the branches had become twisted and the top of it just ripped off and thrown off in the pond. And my wife is, I'm at work. They won't let me go home. They threatened to fire me if I left, not because of safety, but because I've got a job. And my wife is here by herself with the dog. She gets a couple of my old motorcycle helmets, gets in the bathroom, the only completely enclosed area in the house, gets in the tub with the dog, and is sitting there scared to death, texting me every 30 seconds. Sometimes I think she even overlapped herself. I don't know how. It seemed like she broke light speed, but I'm not sure. It was either the typing created some kind of wormhole, or I don't know what. And I'm surprised the cell phone signal got through. But they just go around.
It might have been the weather might have been affecting the way the cell phone towers routed the messages.
Hey,
so this message may have taken longer than this message.
All I know is they were coming so fast that my phone just about gave up trying to ping. Just about wore out the little speaker.
Well, we have some local meteorologists up here. We had storms a few weeks ago that spurred some tornadoes through east central Illinois. And anyway, they're complaining about the signals, them being able to track the tornadoes because of all the wind farms around the area. When they get too close to one, that it's kind of messing up the signal.
Mm-hmm. It does.
Some other meteorologists say that's not true, and some say that it is true.
Oh, there's no doubt it causes sufficient turbulence to affect the radar. Yeah.
I just remember how terrifying April of 2011 was.
Oh, no joke.
We had 300 people in Alabama died that day in tornadoes. I was at the Virginia Festival of the Book a year later, and there was a woman who had just written a book about the tornadoes that went through the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa. And she was telling the story of 8 students, 4 who lived and 4 who died. And it was tracing what they did that day based on their text messages and cell phone records and everything else. And it was tracing the decisions that they made that determined whether they lived or died. And it was a real, just one of those gut-wrenching stories, because you were seeing the text messages of these kids. And one decided to go ride out the storm at her friend's apartment, and that apartment was obliterated, right? Mm. And if she had stayed where her apartment was, it was untouched.
Oh, yeah.
And so it was just really, really heartbreaking to follow that story and realize what happened, on that day.
Well,
Dad had a story back in the 70s. We had several come through Athens, Georgia. And he had gotten off from work at exactly the worst possible time and was headed out to a department store. And it just so happened he could see one ahead of him and one in the rearview mirror. And by driving very carefully at the same speed, he managed to keep from getting involved with any of it. Got to the department store he was going to. Got inside, and knowing my dad, he was looking at fishing tackle. And the one that had been following got to the store and took about a quarter of the roof off while he was in there. And he's just, and knowing my dad, he's just going, really?
That sounds like the super outbreak of '74.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking like Xenia, Ohio, the year that I was all devastated. And
I was still in high school, so it had to be somewhere in the before 75 era.
Well, I learned something from people that work at Walmart that everybody, when they have the tornado, they have everybody get in to the center of the building, and the guys in the auto shop go, "Screw y'all, we're going to the pit."
Really?
And some of them get fired for going to the pit.
Go into the safest place in the building.
Yeah.
Well, it's a safe place until they start, all the socket wrenches and stuff start flying around at 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, but it's still going to be
you're
flying
12
around
feet
above
underground.
Hey, worst case scenario, all the oil filters get sucked out the hole.
That is one thing that Walmart and stores like it, just, they're horrible at storms. It's not even funny.
Well,
I don't think there are many good places to be in a tornado. Quite.
We want you to go back to the employees' break room. I mean,
yeah.
What? At the factory.
Well, look at the Amazon plant in Kentucky.
Y'all keep working.
Yeah. Don't mind this.
What was that? That candle factory. Where everybody wanted to go home. Management said, "If you go home, you're fired." And then the tornado hit the plant, killed everybody. So.
Yeah.
Probably. Well, we are about 8 minutes from wrapping up the show, so this is where Les gets to make his money.
Uh-oh.
All right, we're going to bring you up full screen, Les.
All right.
Just basically websites, any information you want to know, any books you got coming out, any books you've done that people need to buy, all that.
Wow, I appreciate the opportunity to do that. Thank you. Actually, this has been a big year for me. My latest nonfiction book, A Traveler's Guide to the Stars, I got to get the right hand over the right shoulder, got a cover of it back there, came out from Princeton Press last October, and it's a popular science book. It's not a textbook. It's all about how we might go to the stars someday. It covers the technology, the ethics, the morality. The book's done very, very well. In fact, it's probably going to be my best-selling book. I've written about 10 books over the last 15 years, and this one's doing really well. And I was thrilled. A guy at work told me he saw it in an airport bookstore. Did you hear that, Stephanie? An airport bookstore.
Cool.
Usually you don't make it to an airport bookstore unless the book's doing really well. So I was really pleased by that. It was just reviewed in Analog, actually, Science Fiction Magazine, got a good review. And it's being translated into Japanese, South Korean, Arabic, and Hebrew. So I'm pretty excited. The book's done real well. And then on the other shoulder is my latest novel from Bayan Books, The Space-Time Book. And that book's also done very well. It came out trade paperback last year and mass market paperback this year. So we got that, and we mentioned Travis Taylor earlier. Travis and I are working on the next book in our Saving Proxima series. And we're just about to get that finished and sent off to the publisher. So that'll be coming out in about a year. And then Stephanie has a story in an anthology that Ken Roy and I edited that'll be out in May that is called the Ross 248 Project. It's about what would happen if we found planets that could be made habitable and we start terraforming them. Steph, you want to tell them real quickly about your story?
Well, my story is called "And the Children Shall Lead," and it's about the the colonists have already arrived. They've picked a particular world that they're going to settle, and they're in the process. It doesn't really have much in the way of an atmosphere, so they're in the process of digging down and creating what is going to be an underground city. when Ross 248 decides to wake up.
Oh, Flare Star.
Yes, we don't want to give too much away. You got to read the story and you got to read the book.
Yep.
And then just finally, I've got a few things in work. Like I say, Travis and I are writing the second of the 3 books in that series that we have. And I'm really excited because I'm also working on a book that's going to be a little bit different for me. I'm writing a novel in the Monster Hunter universe with Larry Correia.
Ooh.
So that'll be wrapped up probably a little bit later this year and come out in 24, maybe early 25. But we're working on that now, and it's a lot of fun to work with Larry, and it is definitely something different for me. And I hope people enjoy it when it comes out. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
All right, and Les, please tell Travis about us. I'd love to get him on here.
Well, do you want me to tell the truth, or do you want me to make you look?
He's really an alien.
Well, you'll get a chance to pitch to him. He's going to be at LibertyCon this year, right? Isn't he the science guest of honor at Liberty this year? That's what I think. I think I heard that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think you'll get a chance to pitch your show to him then. When I see Travis, I'll make sure I mention it. Seriously, this has been a lot of fun. I appreciate you having me on.
Now, here's a great idea for a book. A group of people get together over a Zoom call to solve the world's problems, and some of them are just crazy enough they just may work.
Travis is the STEM guest of honor.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay. We're not ignoring you, Joe Dog. It's just when anybody shows up in a crowd of writers and goes, "Here's an idea for a book," we go, "No, we can't do that."
I don't care. I like being Tuckerized.
Yeah. Hang on a minute.
Well, we don't like being sued.
Yeah, Les, we are cheesy as all get out.
Well, that's okay.
Well, we ain't got nothing on us.
All right, we are going to have to. Where did it go? I've lost the old outro. Okay, there it is.
Okay. I got to go to the other room.
Yeah. All right.
Bye, y'all.
Good night.
Thank you for being here, Les.
Good night.
Stephanie, everybody.
Yeah, thanks. And we got to say this. Good night, everybody.
Bye, con Dios.
Good night.
Say good night, everybody.
Good night.
I have slept the surly bonds of earth and danced the skies on laughter-silvered wings. Sunward I've climbed and joined the tumbling mirth of sun-split clouds and done 100 things you have not dreamed of. Wheeled and soared and swung high in the sunlit silence. Hovering there, I've chased the shouting wind along and flung my eager craft through footless halls of air. Up the long, delirious, burning blue, I've topped the windswept heights with easy grace, when never lark nor even eagle flew. And while with silent, lifting mind, I've trod the high, untrespassed sanctity of space, put out my hand and touched the face of God.
I am Frau Blucher.